and it had a lot of our favorite State House News Bureau reporters, such as Karen Kassler and Joe Ingles, and they made the valid point that the only people on the no side are the power brokers of the Ohio Republican Party. It is not a multi-partisan alliance on their side at all. So in that way, I almost feel, I don't know if we have any Star Wars fans here, but I feel like we are the Rebel Alliance. We come from all sorts of planets politically, but we're all fighting one very powerful empire right now. And I really feel we're going to win. Obviously, I don't want to jinx it. We got to keep pushing, but the polling is looking very good. I think right now it's 60% for, only 20% against, and 20% undecided. And so that's why this week I thought it was very important for the Libertarian Party of Ohio to endorse issue 1, so we can kind of squash any claims that issue 1 is just a Democratic power grab. No, this is everybody. This is Republicans, Democrats, Independents, Libertarians, Greens, unaffiliated. Natural Law Party, I don't know if they're still a thing, but I'd imagine they'd be in support of issue 1 as well. So we're proud to be a part of it, and we're going to keep pushing. So I am very excited to bring in one of my old friends. He and I were just on the road, actually, doing comedy shows all over Ohio. And of course, I brought along my issue 1 flyers to pass out to people. Obviously, a lot of people who were attending the shows are already aware of issue 1 and in favor of issue 1, but it's important to keep spreading the word. So I was glad people grabbed the flyers. And thank you, Mia, for giving me the Yes on Issue 1 t-shirt. It was fun to wear that, not just in Springfield, Ohio, but also for the Columbus, Ohio show. So this next speaker, I've known him since 2015. We met on the Comedy Festival circuit, first in Wilmington, North Carolina, but then in his native region of Knoxville, Tennessee. And he was so smart. We kind of started talking politics, just like we were old friends immediately. And I remember saying to him, I was like, you should run for public office sometime. And luckily, he did not have to do that, because only a few months after that, he blew up on the internet with a viral video as his character, the liberal redneck. And now he's been doing that professionally for 8 years. We had a great time in Ohio. Always love seeing his Ohio crowds. And he's got a lot of fun stories, not just from our Springfield trip, but also how duplicitous Republicans can be from whenever it suits their agenda. So without further ado, Mia, I'll let you kind of switch Charu there, but
All
I'm going
right.
to take it to my buddy Trae Crowder, everyone.
Hey, Travis. Hey, everybody. Thanks for having me. Travis, you can still hear me, right? And also talk.
Yes,
You
sir,
still talk?
absolutely.
Okay. All right. Because I might throw you a couple questions. Travis is an old friend of mine. He asked me to be on here today. I'm always happy to support people who do stuff. I find it very inspiring. You guys are actually doing stuff. I mostly just say stuff, oftentimes from the driver's seat or the safety of my office. You guys are out there, boots on the ground, making real change happen. And I didn't know a lot about Ohio until I met Travis. We went to Ohio multiple times. He's educated me quite a bit. He's you guys like got a whole lot of astronauts from there. He knows all the presidents, not personally, but he's real up on Ohio presidents, of varying quality, I think. But you got Tennessee beat at least when it comes to president. Like, objectively speaking, Tennessee's best president is a genocidal lunatic, Andrew Jackson, and he's the best of the three. So Ohio's doing better in that regard. But I asked Travis a lot, frankly, what happened, man? Because I'm from Tennessee. I live in California now. I'm out here putting the Bass and Ambassador, but I hadn't spent a lot of time in Ohio other than touring. And I remember when I was a kid, Ohio was like the political bellwether of this country. It was like the most reasonable of all states. It was like, as goes Ohio, so goes the country. And then, lately, a little bit crazier, a little bit wilder in Ohio, not as outwardly sensible, because it seems like there's been people who have an outsized amount of power there who maybe do not reflect the will of the actual people of Ohio, which is kind of what this exact issue is about, Travis, right? Issue 1, this is a gerrymandering thing, correct?
That is
Yep.
correct. This is an anti-gerrymandering and a constitutional amendment ballot initiative, which is Ohio's one of 17 states that actually still allow citizens to directly impact their own constitution.
Right. And gerrymandering, I think, is one of the biggest problems we have in the American political landscape across the board, because it's like a lot of policies of the right and the far right, as you all know, are actually not generally popular with regular people. And, they don't represent the majority, but they have, all these nefarious and duplicitous methods that they use to ensure themselves an outside piece, slice of power. And gerrymandering is one of the worst ones that there is. So you guys combating that directly is a good thing. And it makes sense that it's like kind of when you guys had that one vote a while back, a couple years ago, or whatever, that was like Ohio had a vote where you were voting on whether or not your vote should count for anything.
Mhm.
And
Yes.
to the surprise of a lot of Republicans, the people of Ohio were like, yeah, I generally would prefer that my vote count for something. So I feel like this one's got a good shot too, but it really does, especially in election year, but just anytime people, because Travis, he's always been very involved. Again, he runs for office. That's the fun. When first night we met, within an hour of talking to him, he says to me, he's like, you should consider running for public office. And in my head at that time, I was like, man, this guy really gets me. He could tell the type of person I am. But then I found out over the years, he tells everybody that because he just thinks that people should do that and get involved. So it wasn't, directly about me, but he's one of those guys that does stuff, like I said, and he stays involved, and it's important to, especially at the sort of crossroads we're at right now, culturally and politically and otherwise. I do think, it's like this is where the rubber meets the road for all of us, I think, this year. And I know it's like we say that every year now, every election year, but like I think it's been true every one of those years, and I think it's true again right now. So to see all you out there working so hard on it and doing what it takes, that's the type of community involvement that gets things like this done, and I find it very inspiring. So you guys hit for me, and keep it up. And best of luck to you, Travis. I don't know if there's anything else you wanted me to cover. Oh, I think he referenced the fact that I know JD Vance, and I do a little bit, unfortunately. So he the first time I did a show in Columbus at the Funny Bone in 2016, I think, maybe 2017. JD Vance was there with his wife, and we went to a bar afterwards and hung out and stuff because I had gone viral the same year that his book came out. As soon as I met him, I was like, you not nearly as hillbilly-ish as I would have thought you would be. I'm kind of off put by that. But at that time, in my defense, at that point in time, JD Vance was still a very vocal never Trumper, and he was calling him Hitler and all that stuff. And me and JD mostly talked about that night about how Trump would be the death of American society if he won, and how it was existentially terrifying, and that was obvious to anybody with a brain. And that's mostly what we talked about. And then, 8 years later, or whatever, here we are. He's lodged firmly up his butt and in the pole position as the VP candidate. So didn't really see that coming, but I'm also not entirely surprised by it when his background and backers, his billionaire backers, and what he really represents. But yeah, so to hell with him. He's a fake hillbilly. Y'all are the real deal, and I appreciate it. Anyway, yeah, Travis, is that all right? Is that?
Yeah. Well, and to build off JD Vance, when Trey and I were on tour, we actually did have an opportunity to stop into Springfield, in, talk to people. They're actually having a mustard festival.
Yeah, we saw a bunch of little dogs running for their lives because they were trying to win the blue medal at the annual wiener dog races. It was very charming slice of Americana, but it was kind of, the jokes did kind of write them. So we were right there in the middle of this big controversy, and they're having the mustard festival and giving away all these free people eating hot dogs and stuff. But yeah, Travis talked to a bunch of people, and they were pretty much all, you could tell some of them were conservatives and didn't want to talk about it politics wise, but all of them were very proud of their community and were very upset at the way it had been portrayed. And I think a lot of them felt betrayed by JD and the narrative. And they just kept saying things like, we just wish people could understand how outrageous that is and what it's really like here. And that was people on both sides of the political spectrum. So, that's the type of thing that happens.
Yeah. And I think that's the alliance that we're building here in favor of issue one. And it's just real people dealing with real communities every day. And I think that's why the Republicans, from JD down to Matt Huffman, that's why they're trying to squash us, but they're not going to do it. I think issue one's going to fly by with passing colors. So Trey, I appreciate you coming on. I always appreciate you coming to Ohio every year.
I love it.
Helping
Always
us keep
fun.
up the fight. And here's hoping Ohio, gets back to where the Ohio that you knew growing up. A little more purple, a little more pulse on the nation.
Oh, one other thing Travis told me about Ohio. You guys fought a war with Michigan over Toledo and won. You got Toledo, so that's fine.
We got Toledo.
got to lock that down. So that's a good
Yeah.
prize. Anyway, a lot of fun facts about Ohio, and he's an endless font of them. Anyway, thank you guys. I appreciate it. Good luck to you.
A big
Thank
thank
you.
you
Thank you
to
so
you
much.
both.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Trey.
That was great. I'm going to go back to my slides. I apologize that I hadn't hit record at the very beginning, but I did after a minute or two. I'm just getting back to my slides here. Give me one sec. There we go. All right. So we are going to cover a lot this evening, but we did want to give you a real quick update of something that I'm sure you all know about, but it did happen since our last huddle. Remember the terrible ballot language, and CNP, the campaign, sued to try to get that amended. And the Supreme Court came out with a decision that, made a three teeny tiny little tweaks, but basically left the lies of the ballot language present. And it's been interesting seeing in the chat some people saying, I went to vote today and I saw that ballot language and man, I was shocked. It's shocking. It's shocking. It really is. But it is giving Justice Donnelly an opportunity to display his snark, which is, he says, from the court that says boneless means expect bones, it's no surprise that a constitutional amendment to ban gerrymandering means to require gerrymandering. So that was his comment on that outcome of that case. So unfortunately, you will see the bad ballot language is still there. I think that this is an example of what we're going to talk about more this evening, which is how desperate the politicians are to keep the present system, to keep everything status quo. And, voting no is the status quo. So if you want change, you're going to have to vote yes. And that is something that we can push for. So I'm going to turn this over to Elizabeth, who's going to talk about what we're up against and how we deal with the fact that there's a lot of folks running around with their pants on fire. Oh, we can't hear you, Elizabeth.
You missed my Princess Bride impersonation of Laya.
Sorry.
So yes, let us talk about the flood of disinformation that is coming at us from the lying liars who lie, aka the opposition. We all see it. Ballot language is a great example. We hear the impact of these lies on voters, which is the most important thing. So what do we do? You can go to the next slide, please. So first we can start with the no's. Don't play whack-a-mole. There is a lot of, I'm stopping myself from saying the word we're all thinking. There's a lot of untruths out there. All of the disinformation that's being peddled by the baddies is provably false, but we will exhaust ourselves if we are trying to counter every single dumb thing that we hear, because there is a lot of dumb. The problem is that if we spend all of our time saying, they say X, but Y is the reality, two things are happening. So one is that we are giving oxygen to their lie. And two is that we don't get to say our message, which we know is not only correct, but powerful and effective. So that brings us to the next very important thing to know, which is don't repeat the lie. And you may say, but the lie, it is so bad, it is hurting people. And you are right. But there's a good option that's an alternative, and we are calling it the truth sandwich. We can go to the next thing. Are we there yet? Yeah. So you're saying the true thing first. I'm going to use this example. In the some of the opposition, and I am going to do the thing I'm telling you not to do by saying what the lie is, just so we know what we're talking about. So in the ballot language and on the opposition signs, it says, you know, that they are trying to stop gerrymandering, and we are the gerrymanderers, which, you know, was designed in a lab to make us insane. But instead of saying, no, but it's them, instead, we say the true thing. So the true thing is issue 1 will end gerrymandering in Ohio. And then the next thing is you acknowledge the lie briefly. You say, they say they want to stop gerrymandering. Insert, you know, eye roll, LLL, if that is your inclination. And then this is really important, you connect the lie to the liar. So politicians are lying because they don't want to have the power that gerrymandering gives them taken away from them. Of course they're lying. And then you restate your truth. Issue 1 will end gerrymandering in Ohio by taking the politicians who have gotten away with drawing maps that let them pick their own voters out of the process, and that's why I'm voting yes on issue 1. So you're connecting the disinformation with what's wrong with the situation. So the disinformation is them saying, you know, that we are the gerrymanderers, which again, so that's the lunatic thing that they are saying, and we say, yeah, they're saying that. That's because, and then you transition into the why.
So I'm going to give another example, and Elizabeth has given us, and of course you will get these slides, so you'll get to see the steps, which is really helpful. But here's an example without the kind of steps, but you can see them in there. So first I start off with the good thing that we like. The amendment is built to require balance. And then I state the lie and the people, and I connect it to the people who are lying. Politicians who like the current system claim that the amendment would allow Democrats to dominate the process, but that is impossible given the rules in issue 1. And then I actually quote the amendment, which I love this quote: all actions by the commission shall require the affirmative vote of at least 9 commissioners, including the vote of at least 2 commissioners affiliated with the first party, 2 commissioners affiliated with the second party, and 2 independent commissioners. With 2 votes required from each of the 3 groups in the commission, the amendment will prevent any one political party from controlling the process. That's why I'm voting yes on issue 1. So I've started out with my truth. I've acknowledged the lie and I've connected it to the liar. And then I've given a full explanation of why it's not true. And I've ended with something good about the amendment and why I'm voting for it. Here's another example. Issue 1 would create a commission that is accountable to the public and to the law. Yay, good thing about issue 1. Politicians who benefit from gerrymandering claim issue 1 would empower unaccountable bureaucrats. But those same politicians drew maps that were struck down by the Ohio Supreme Court 7 times, and they never faced any accountability for their illegal and unconstitutional actions. The amendment would require the commission to operate in public with full transparency. It also includes a defined process for removing commissioners who are not doing their job. That's why I'm voting yes on issue 1. So, you know, by the time you've gone through all of that, they can't even remember the lie anymore. Not only have you refuted it, but you've given a lot of really good information that is positive. We're not just trying to refute lies. We're trying to equip people with really good, positive things that are truly good about the amendment. And one more example. I think this is you, Elizabeth.
So, yeah, so truth, under the Citizens Not Politicians Amendment, any voter in Ohio would be eligible to join the commission except elected politicians and lobbyists. And this, the lie that we're calling out here is the lie that service members or police officers would not be allowed to serve. So we're saying our true thing. Then the next thing is that we're connecting the lie to the liar. So politicians have been in charge of drawing our maps, and that's how we got to be one of the most gerrymandered states in the country. Right now, voters or politicians can pick their voters, giving them safe seats that make them unaccountable to Ohio voters. And then we transition into our argument. Instead of politicians, the commission will be made up of everyday Ohio citizens like teachers, teachers, nurses, firefighters, police officers, and active military members. And so with this one, I want to say, we're not saying anything about their lie. We are only saying the truth. We're saying it as a pre-bunking. So we're saying this to get ahead of what we know some of the baddies are kind of saying on the fringes. We assume that that argument will kind of make its way more to the mainstream over the next few weeks. So before we even let that happen, we're saying here's the positive thing about the amendment. So the positive thing about the amendment is that there's no politicians, right? It's in the name, citizens, not politicians. And so we're doing that, and then we're again saying what the true thing is. This commission is made up of everyday Ohioans, including police officers, firefighters, active military members, and then we transition into, and that's why I'm voting yes on issue 1.
And that's why we're all voting yes on issue 1. So these are 4 examples. You know, we a little bit later on in the slides, CJ is going to share some really useful materials with you that give some more of these kinds of answers that push back on the lies, not by repeating them, but by giving true facts about the amendment. So I hope that will be helpful. And then Catherine is going to talk to you about some videos also that we can share about the amendment that push back. There you go.
My
Yeah.
Zoom is hating on me and does not want me to go off mute. But I do think, you know, one of the things that is true is that we have some really good videos. I love the one with Sam Gresham and Petey Talley and Tom Roberts, where they really push back on the bad ballot language and on the need for issue 1 for greater accountability. It really highlights what's good about issue 1, at the same time does is, like Mia discuss that sandwich. This is one that we'll share it with you. It's at YouTube, and you can share it on any social media platform. The other one that I love is the one that features the Chief Justice, Maureen O'Connor, just talking about being on that court and why she was disgusted with how the elected commission didn't actually listen to the Ohio Supreme Court and how it became necessary to actually change the Ohio Constitution. There's one where they're union members just saying, why they're voting yes and how they feel about it. And I think that's important because, we need different kinds of voices out there. And then there's a recent ad that features a veteran. And I think that's also important. There's some nonsense out there that actually suggests that folks that are veterans or are police officers, etc., cannot actually serve on the Citizens Redistricting Commission. So I think it's very important to know, not only can they, we hope that they will.
Absolutely.
And with that,
thank you. So CJ, tell us about some of these materials that we can use to help us, be spokespeople for the amendment.
Sure. So number 1 is this facts about issue 1 the politicians don't want you to know. It's just a list of facts about the amendment. So when you're crafting your truth sandwiches, you can use the facts from here as the bread, the metaphorical bread of the truth sandwiches. So yeah, it's very useful. Gives you just straight facts about the amendment. So this one, Ohio Issue 1 Explained, it is a fairly comprehensive document. It has a bunch of links to different questions that can be asked of you while you're promoting the amendment, and it gives you explanations and answers to those questions. So if you get, someone who's asking about the mechanics of the amendment, you can more easily answer their questions. You're more familiar with the actual process of the amendment and what's laid out inside the amendment without having to read the entire full text of of the amendment that would go in the Constitution. And then finally, we have the current problems versus issue one solutions. So it goes through a couple of categories or values that Ohio's current broken system, as you see, violates. So you can see transparency, for example, politicians draw voting maps in secret, and then it shows what issue one does about those values being violated by the current process. So the Citizens Commission's work is required to happen in an open, transparent process. It juxtaposes the current system with how issue one will fix the system.
Very good. And I think there's one extra FAQ at the end as well. And of course, you'll get a link to these slides, but also, you know, all of these links as well. So I just want to say, you know, I know there's polling out there, but the polling is, I personally feel a little bit exaggerates the situation because, yeah, people are against gerrymandering, but there's a lot of confusion out there about whether it's vote yes or vote no to end gerrymandering. And also the polling didn't actually use the amendment language and it didn't use the ballot language. It just kind of said, well, do you think politicians should draw districts? And well, that's an easy answer. Everyone's going to say no. So I really, truly feel that we have worked so long and so hard, way too long and way too hard to come up short in November. That just like gives me the absolute horrors even thinking about that. So, and you guys are the ones that can make sure that that doesn't happen. So this whole huddle is about how can you be a spokesperson for the amendment? How can you be a spokesperson for issue one? And I'm going to say the first thing you have to do is, if you're a shy person, put it in the closet for now, take it out again on November 6th. Pretend you're in a play and you're acting a unshy person, and you know, just go with it, because we have to be loud and proud about issue one right now. You can post on social media. Mosey was telling me last night that she posts on Nextdoor and she gets trolls saying false things about the amendment, and she's saying it actually is beneficial because then it brings more eyes on what she's saying, and then she just explains, she answers, she says, I'm not talking to you, I'm talking to these people who have questions about the amendment, and then she just answers the questions. So you know, that's something to do. We have stuff for you to wear, your t-shirts, your buttons. You can put signs in your car window. You can put on bumper stickers. You can have yard signs. Remember, we aren't going to have enough yard signs for everyone. So maybe rotate around with some friends. And then when it gets time to vote, go take that yard sign up to your polling place, bring it up to early vote. Talk to your friends and neighbors. Put a blurb at the bottom of your emails. If anyone has gotten an email from me in the past week, you will see at the end, it has a signature. My signature now says, don't let politicians fool you, vote yes on issue one, etc. So these are all unshy things that you can do in order to help pass issue one. And then I'm going to turn it over to Elizabeth for some more things.
More things. So I think to kind of add on to what Mia is saying, because there is so much confusion, really, really one of the most important things that we can all be doing is using every possible platform that we have to shout yes on issue one. And another reason that that's important is that our media environment is fractured and complicated, and everybody has a different media source that they're listening to. People have a lot less trust in media than they used to. So we as individuals have actually more credibility with our communities and with our friends and our families than lots of media traditionally has. So this is a yes and. So do all those things, and legacy media is still really important. So letters to the editor really do break through. And for some of the same reasons that us talking in our family chats or on our social media does. Sometimes the letters to the editor are more powerful than the articles themselves because they're coming from regular people and people really identify with that. So what we have here is a compilation of some of the letters to the editor that have been published about issue 1 to kind of give you some inspiration for what to say and what gets published. Thank you, Michael Barron, for putting that together. We did a webinar a month ago or so that focused on how to write a letter to the editor, the points to focus on, how to be impactful while also being brief and true to your own voice. That's included here. The campaign, the Yes on One, Citizens Not Politicians campaign, has letters to the editor guidance, and then Common Cause also has a great toolkit for you as well. So all of those things are super helpful. And again, just use your voice in any possible way that you can to connect with the people who are going to listen to you. And then 21. So in addition to social media and legacy media, there's also just kind of guerrilla canvassing and marketing and communications. So do a honk and wave, stand on a busy corner with your Yes on One signs and just hold them up and have people honk and you are waving, literally. Have a party with a purpose. So invite some friends over, everybody dresses up as like a puzzle piece, or you have like a special like alcoholic punch that is, somehow related. Please, somebody come up with something great here, to gerrymandering. Put a large banner on one of the overpasses during rush hour. We've seen that already in Columbus. It's pretty cool. There is an opposition bus tour happening right now, although honestly, it is pretty piddling. The pictures we've seen, there's like 9 people. So I almost think like don't even give that oxygen. But should they happen to be in your neighborhood, you can do something like dress up as Pinocchio and just make that lie and liar connection clear. You can, again, use your social media to post a quote a day from the amendment. You can make or share a TikTok. The graphic that is here by Joe is really great. There's lots of options that you can do to be creative. Think about what you have seen in your life that made you go, oh, that's actually pretty clever. How can you do that? Think about that.
Awesome, thank you. And we want to recognize thing one here is on the call, and we appreciate you, Wenda. So and actually there is a banner that is there's several banners that are in Columbus, but there's one that if you're in Franklin County, I'll be sending out an email, or Mary, actually you could pop the link in the chat if you would, for the Columbus banner that we're looking for folks to babysit. So this is a slide that you've kind of seen before, things that we've asked you to do before, but if you haven't signed up yet to volunteer, the reason that it's helpful is it'll connect you with the local leader, and we'll let you know in a minute why that's important. There are community events like canvassing or handing out literature that are happening. There's a Mobilize link there that you can see. We're still looking for endorsements if you are with a religious group or a club or a business or anything like that. We recently had a group that the Yellow Springs City Council voted to endorse, and that's awesome. So if you're able to find endorsements, that's really helpful. Finding speakers, places to speak is really important as well. And then we have poll standing. Now, I've run through all of these things and you guys are probably like, I might do that. I might do that. I might do that. Here's something you can definitely do. You can definitely stand for a couple of hours at early vote in any one of these counties or other counties and hand out literature to people and make sure they know that to end gerrymandering, it's yes on issue 1. So we have all these links here. Again, you will get these slides. You will get all these links. So don't worry about that. But pole standing is just, you know, when you stand outside of the 100-foot line, where all the other people are handing out slate cards or candidate cards, and we have flyers that you can hand out. This is Leslie, who was at Franklin County yesterday with some flyers doing her thing. So, you know, sign up with a friend, go for a couple of hours. We have a whole month of early vote. We have a lot of shifts to cover. So we really, really appreciate you signing up. And there should be instructions on every sign up as to how you pick up your literature. If you don't see it for some reason, you can go ahead and email me, and I can put, you know, tell me what county you're in. I can put you in touch with the person, but it should be up there on the sign up. And this is definitely worthwhile. This is definitely worthwhile. You know, just that last touch before the person goes in to vote. And then of course we have yard signs. There's a map there where you can get them. Again, we won't probably have enough signs for everybody. So maybe think of it as like you get a sign and then you share it with a friend and you share it with a friend and you share it with a friend. So it makes a little circuit. We don't need 5 signs on the same street. We just want to make sure they're evenly distributed. And we do have this swag. We've got shirts, we've got buttons, we've got bumper stickers, but those are difficult to distribute across the whole state to everyone who wants one. So they are with our local leaders. And when you sign up to Canvas or to put literature at doors or to go to a farmer's market or something like that, that is when you'll be able to get a bumper sticker, a button, or a t-shirt. So sign up to volunteer, get connected with your local leader, and then you should be able to get those materials. So if you are a local leader and you are looking for volunteers, feel free to write in the chat that you've got shirts or you've got buttons or you've got whatever it is and that you're happy to share them with people. And Catherine.
So I think I mentioned this earlier, the road, I've been calling it a road trip or a road show, but we've been going all over the state of Ohio having rallies. And so there's one tomorrow morning in Lorraine. And if you're in that area, please come join us. I think it's going to be really fun. This is one I won't be at, but Jen Miller from the League of Women Voters will be there. So next Tuesday, there is one in Cincinnati, and this is one that both Jen and I will be at, and CJ is also coming down, and I think it should be really fun. Jen's doing the one in Mansfield and the one in Lima, and we know we have some great redistricting reformers up there. And then there's the Dayton one, and the Dayton one, both CJ and Jen are going to be speaking at that one, as well as a bunch of union friends. And then finally, the biggie is in Columbus at 6:30 on the 24th, and it should be really fun. Music, food, lots and lots of excitement for that final big push. And, you know, one of the things that we do need right now is to be with one another. This stuff is incredibly hard work. It's painful and hard. And I do want to encourage us all to get together with one another. It's also an opportunity to pick up some yard signs, a bumper sticker, to talk with friends about whether you want to go canvassing together. So please consider, you know, coming to these events. It's a great time to get together with friends and have a little bit of food. And thank you.
Catherine, this is you and the next one.
Oh, okay. So I added this one just because there are a lot of worries about the length of the ballot language, which leads to people who are voting on the touch screen. So not everybody does. So those are the computerized ones where, you know, you're touching the screen. What can happen, because it's not just that the ballot language is inappropriate and a lie and Orwellian, it's also super long. It is not a summary. And so that means that it's hard to have it fit on one screen. And so different counties, boards of elections have managed this in different ways, but in some cases, it can be hard to figure out, you know, okay, I can move this along and then I can vote. But sometimes they end up moving it along and it just advances and it's hard to figure out how to vote. And so, we want to encourage everybody, if you're hearing from voters that they're having trouble essentially casting a ballot, or they run into trouble, or they are feeling harassed, for example, at early vote in the free speech zone, this is an opportunity to reach out to the election protection hotline. This is the long term. We're working on 20 years on this, the election protection hotline, which is run in part by the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights Under Law. And it's important to report problems as they occur, but even if they've been resolved, it's worth making a phone call. So please keep that 866 our vote number handy just in case. And then finally, Mia.
So this is we're just wrapping up. We are done, folks. I think you get the gist. We're counting on you to go out there and be spokespeople for Yes on One. We have so many different ways you can do that. Here's a few more. Next huddle is November 13th. We hope that will be a tremendous celebration and also a plan for getting a great commission and all of the work that will be ahead. We also have a couple of other things to share here. Bill Cohen, who I'm sure many of you have heard of, is a singer-songwriter. He wrote a wonderful Yes on Issue 1 song. Don't get it confused with his No on Issue 1 song that he wrote last August. I've got them both in my head. But yes, listen to his song and share it around. It's very uplifting. And we're also going to share another document that's a little bit more in-depth, kind of with some more specific information about the misleading arguments that are being spread. And I did include at the very end, I just decided to include the amendment, text of the amendment itself, because honestly, I find that reading the amendment fills me with confidence. It fills me with confidence that it was well written by people who were really trying to solve a problem and trying to protect us against any bad things that could happen. And so we included that link as well. So that's really all I have. Get in touch with your local leaders, sign up to volunteer and get in touch with your local leader if you want some of those materials to use for canvassing, poll standing, handing out flyers, all of that. And you are going to get all of these materials when we send out a follow-up. And I think that's it. Does anyone have anything else to add? We so appreciate every single one of you. These huddles have been going on for at least 2 years, maybe more than that. Probably started in 21. I don't know.
I think it was long. Okay, so when we passed in 2018, we passed in May of 2018, we gave it a year, but then, the census was coming up. So we started, it was literally 2020. So we've been at this for a long time. And, I think the thing that is both true is, gosh, I'm tired. I'm tired of rigged districts. I'm tired of having the same conversation. I'm tired of the lies, but also I'm incredibly invigorated. We all came together, we collected enough signatures, we're on this November's ballot, and this is the year that we finally put the map making in the hands of citizens, and we finally create fair districts so that we can have fair elections. And not in 2031. We're talking about next year. I think that's the other thing that's really exciting. So, we're going to keep having these huddles because, of course, we're going to need to get ready for the map making in 2025. And I hope some of you are thinking, I'd like to be on that commission. And I hope that as you're having conversations with people, you're encouraging people to think about themselves as being on that commission and think of themselves as the people to go and testify about what it is they want to see in the new maps. I just think, we're at a really exciting place because, a yes vote, of course, is a vote for a democracy that works for all of us and representative government where we have greater accountability. So I'm just so pleased that we're going into this, and now is the time that we're coming together to actually put good rules in the Ohio Constitution with good map making.
Yay. Cue the fireworks.
We do need fireworks.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you all so much. We're going to get to work on our follow-up. We will send it out to you in the morning. We will see you out there. We will know who you are by your purple Yes on One t-shirts and your buttons and all of your other things. So thank you so much.
And a big thank you.
bye.
Let us know if you have suggestions too, because I noticed there were some really good suggestions in the chat. So that's the other thing. We'll send you a follow-up, but you should be thinking about like, well, what are the suggestions that you have? And I cut you off, Elizabeth.
I was just saying thank you, but also since you gave it to me, I think we are all very tired, to amplify what Catherine was saying. I just want us to remember what we're going to feel like at the end of this, and to know that we did literally everything that we could to make this thing that has been the project of generations happen. You will never feel prouder of yourself than for the work that you have done here. So just super grateful for everybody. Thank you.
Yay. Thank you so much. See you all soon.
Bye,
Thank you.
everybody.
Bye.
Bye.